Thank you very much, Dennis. I've started recording now.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Anyway, to back up just a little bit, the first thing you need to do is load the software. Oh, and by the way, if you do any other digital mode, like RTTY, PSK, FT8, FT4, and you're doing that with your radio, you're ready to go. All you need to do is load this software, configure it, and you will be on VarAC. So that's really the biggest part of it is configuring it, and probably where I spent the most time. So right now we're looking at the Groups IO page in messages, and actually, let's see where to go. Here we go. Ken, NB6S, put a couple links up here. So this first link, and this is only one of the places you can find the software, but you can go to this link and download the latest VarAC, VarAC, and then you can go to this link and get the latest VarAHF. You need both pieces of software to run this software. So basically, it's like a chat room software like PSK used to be and still is actually, with a whole bunch of more features, which makes it pretty neat. So one of the links will take you to this page. This is where you get the VarAHF, and this is the latest version, 4.69, right here. Okay, and let's see what else do I have. You can also go to this website, and that should come up here. And this is where you get the latest copy of VarAC, and that is 6.33. You must have the latest copy of the VarAHF to make this work correctly. Okay, any questions so far? And these links, like I said, the links are available in the software, and they're also available on Groups.io and a couple other places I'll show you in a minute.
And just to clarify, VarAHF is a modem for HF operation, where VarAC is the chat program.
That's correct. Thank you. All right, so with that, I'm going...
One quick question for you, Dennis. What operating system does it run on? Linux, Windows, or both?
Well, that's a good question. I'm running it on Windows. Jim, do you know the answer to that?
So it is a Windows program. However, if you are using any of the compatibility layers on Linux, I believe mine, it'll work on Linux as well. In fact, people have ran it on a Raspberry Pi.
Okay, thanks.
So I'm going to pull up the two screens that pop up. Let's see, I'm getting pop-ups. Okay, good. So you guys both see, do you see the VarAC screen? And then right next to it, you'll see the VarAHF screen, correct? Okay. So what I'm going to do is quickly go through the setup. There's some things that are really quick and easy to set up. My information, as soon as you load the software, this screen will pop up, and that allows you to put in your call sign, you know, your QTH, how much power you're running, and maybe a kind of an antenna, and basically you'd save and exit that. The next thing you want to set up is your rig control, but you can also go look. I'm gonna jump over rig control and go to CAN precedent. These are the CAN messages. As you can see, I've got 4 set up. I've got one that's kind of a welcome message that comes up when somebody connects to me. That's right there. And then I've got 3 others set up. And this is this over here on the right-hand side where it says name. This is where you can actually put a description of what is in this field. And I'll show you where that comes up in the actual program later. If you put your name, your QTH, this location in these brackets, it will actually populate the screen on VarAC, and I'll show you where that happens too. After that, in the, like for example, here in CAN messages, I've got my information, what my radio station is. You do not need to put that in brackets, okay? But you do need to put the bracket SND at the end to have it actually get sent. And then in my third one, I have a 73s. I basically say this is, and under the bracket, my call, I'm going to be disconnecting on your final and send. And these up here in the right-hand corner, these are called tags in this program. And you can see what the tags are available for you to put into these message boxes. I'm going to save and close.
Question
Yeah, go ahead.
on the those messages. What was the purpose of the brackets in the first message?
Okay, I'll show you that in a minute. When you send, okay, remember the titles that I have in those boxes? Here's where they are right here. My info, rig, and 73. Down here in the bottom right-hand corner. The purpose of the brackets are to populate this logging line right here, where it says call sign, RST, and all of this. If you put that information in brackets, it will automatically populate this. If you don't have it in brackets, it will not populate. Does that make sense? And I'll show you that when Jim and I connect.
So question, the call sign and location isn't pulled out of the in your settings when you had done that first page that popped up when you first came into this program?
I think that comes from the connect information. So if I go back to canned messages, what's in there is basically my name, my QTH. This is the grid square. The location is grid square, and send. Everything else is going to come from somewhere else in the program, as far as I can tell. Okay, let's go look at rig control. Here's where the fun begins. So the first thing, notice mine's going to look a little different than Jim's because I'm using my, remember I told you, an external sound card. So the first thing you're going to want to do is determine which COM port you need to control your radio. And if you need to know how to do that, I'm just going to type in here device manager and then pull up that screen. Hopefully it'll come up on here. Yeah, it did. So what I did in Windows, I just in the search window, I typed in device manager and it came up with this screen. Everybody see that? So what you'll want to do is you'll want to go to the ports, and these are all of your USB and COM ports on your computer. And right now I happen to know that my radio is using COM 3. So once you determine what COM port your radio uses, you're going to want to enter this COM port in that setup window. So let me try to go back there. So right here is where you would put that COM port. Everybody see that? Okay. And then I know that my radio uses 9600 baud, no parity, 8, none, and 1. Other than that, I have this is pretty much all default. The other thing, and I'm just going to cover this left side of this double menu here, maybe Jim can talk about the rest of it, but on the frequency control side, you can see I selected my TS480. But there are OmniRig, there's other things available. And then if you have a radio with a built-in sound card, I believe you're going to want to collect USB-D for digital. I don't use that because my sound card's external. Logging, you can also set up where your logging is going to be. This is the VarAC log. I also, you can select PSK Reporter if you want to show up, you know, on the World Wide Web. And you also can select, there's some logging programs available here. I'm using N3FJP. So it will automatically log to N3FJP. But you can also see you have HRD, N1MM, and so on. Now, the way to test if things are working is you can, to see if you're controlling your radio, there's a couple of different ways. You can punch this test button. You can, for example, select a different frequency and click test. And if the radio switched, you're good to go. Mine just did. I'm going to go back to 7105. The other way, any other questions on this left-hand side of the screen?
I was just going to mention what I found very helpful because I have used other digital modes in the past. I just copied the path from those previous programs and just populated here. So it wasn't like I'm creating a new device. I'm using the same path that I've used for other modems in the past.
Okay. And over on the side here, you can see VarAHF is where that's located on my computer. I'm going to save and close out of here. The other way that you can test if you're controlling your radio is these little frequency left and right buttons. These shift up and down 750 hertz. So if I click, now you notice I'm up 750 hertz, and I look over my VFO and my radio, it shifted 750 hertz. I can go back by just clicking right there. Why is that important? Well, first of all, 710.105 is what's called a calling frequency. So the only thing that you're going to want to do on 7105 is call CQ or ping. Okay, and I'll talk maybe Jim can cover pinging a little bit later with. But what happens when you go to call a CQ? I press call CQ, and notice now I have what's called slots, and each of these slots moves the listening frequency up 750 hertz. You see it changing on my screen. Same thing to go down. So what the software will do is it will call CQ on the calling frequency, and then it will automatically shift up or down depending on what slot you have selected. Okay. Let's see, what else can I talk about in here, but without getting really too complicated. As you can see in my modem screen over here, I'm also monitoring traffic, and right now there's no traffic in between these red bars. We're hearing something over here, but I don't know what that's not. Okay, here we got something coming in right now. That's what a VarAC looks like, a ping or something like that. Let's see, what else can I show you? Pings will show up or beacons will show up right here in this part of the screen, and people calling CQ will show up in this part of the screen. To launch a connect, you just double click the pinging call sign, or if it's CQ, you double click the CQ call sign. Now remember what I said with this person, if he did it right, he's called CQ on the calling frequency, but he's listening on a different frequency. When you double click his call sign, your radio should automatically switch and transmit to his listening frequency. All automatically. Pretty darn cool. Let's see.
So could you describe what is the difference between a beacon and a CQ?
Okay, a beacon is something, to me, it's just a bit annoying because people will beacon and then not be at the radio. And to me, the reason for a beacon is so that somebody can see that you're there and you're listening on your radio. It's kind of like, I think FT8, where people are sending out a lot of information and then they're not even listening. So I don't beacon. I do ping, but I will more often just double click somebody's call that I see. So a ping, if I do a ping, now you'll see I just ping, but I don't know who I'm pinging. I'm pinging this guy. Whoops. Abort. There's an abort key here too. Yeah, I don't want to ping that guy. I could ping
Ping me, see what happens.
Yeah, I can find you in the
You type it in. You haven't connected to me before, you have to put it in.
Is that right?
Yes.
All right, I'm gonna ping Jim. Oh, it says it cannot. I got a message popped up says you cannot ping because the frequency is busy. And you can see over here in the display.
He's that guy's connecting back to you. That guy you pinged is connecting back to you.
There you go. Oh,
N6UG.
To me.
Ooh, yes, I see you
that is Burton pinging you.
Uh-huh.
All right.
So this is a nice time to explain something.
Yeah, go ahead.
So Vara is actually what they call a multi-mode modem, as in it's all the handshakes are done with FSK, as frequency shift key. But when the modem determines that the conditions are good enough, it can actually switch into PSK or even QAM, which are completely different modes. So PSK you're probably familiar with. QAM is actually what cell phones and digital TV uses. Just it's a much narrower bandwidth version that Vara is using. But depending on signal conditions and how the handshake goes, if you remember the days of dial-up, if the conditions were good, it kicks into high speed. If not, it will downgrade to a lower speed to maintain the connection.
All right. Okay, Jim, did you want to show them your settings, and then we'll kind of progress from there?
Sure.
Well, one question, Dennis.
Yeah.
There's a 500 hertz and 2300 hertz bandwidth. That's done automatically, isn't it?
Yeah, 500 is normal. 2300 is using a lot of bandwidth. Most
Right.
people are on 500. I don't see anybody using 2300.
Hold on. By the way, Dennis, click on 2300. A warning will pop up. Look at it.
Oh yeah. Did you see the warning?
Yes.
I'll
Got
leave it
it.
up for a minute.
Okay.
And if I click yes, you'll notice these two red bars over here. They will like go real wide. Well, maybe not while somebody's on here. Yeah, it's not going to work right now. I'll go back to here.
But you can, by and large, ignore it for most uses, right?
Okay, go ahead, Jim.
All right, let me go ahead and share. So if I go here, and so on my setup here, basically what I have is, if you have a more modern radio that is an SDR-based radio, like say the ICOM 7300, any of the modern Yaesu FTDX or Kenwood 890, 990, or Flex radios, they have a built-in sound card, which means in terms of setup, if I open up my device manager, let me show you. How does this thing show? See, under ports here, I see there's 2 ports. Both of these belong to the radio. But in audio inputs and outputs, the radio also has a built-in sound card. If I do this, you'll see it. This is much more easy to see. This is the radio connected to the USB, and it exposes these 2 serial ports as well as the audio input and output devices. So what that means is, in my setup, when I go into the rig control and Vara configurations, I can actually have Vara Chat software automatically key the radio as well as send that data over the USB. And what I can actually do is I can hit this thing to change the frequency on my radio. Let me show that. So if I went like this, just like Dennis explained, if I did this, it will change the frequency. But I can also just key the PTT like this. You see how it says on air, and it's not actually transmitting anything. And if I do this, it unkeys it. So this confirms that everything is working. It can change the frequency, and I can also key and unkey the radio. And every radio is different for the configuration. The baud rate might be different, and you may have to raise the request to send high. I know on a lot of radios you have to do this in order to get the radio to respond to commands. And other than that, I think everything else is already Dennis already mentioned.
Yeah, everything else.
Yeah. So yeah, and here's that Linux compatible mode. So if you want to run this on Linux, you install Wine and then run the exe through that and click on the Linux compatible mode, which will make it not use a whole bunch of Windows specific commands.
So hey Jim, before you leave, I notice you're not using one of the logging programs within here. So you're just using the built-in VarAC logger.
And the reason is because if you use Logbook of the World, VarAHF is not yet an accepted mode in Logbook of the World. So if I have if I have it send to my copy of N3FJP, N3FJP will throw an error next time I try to upload my logs to Logbook of the World because the ARRL hasn't really accepted the mode yet.
And I was just going to suggest there is a workaround where you can just identify it in your TQSL as a digital mode. So I did that until they do update their database.
Ah,
Yeah,
yeah,
I did the same and it's working. So
yep. Yeah, I'll probably try that as well.
see, this stuff comes comes at us every day, something new, right?
Yeah. The other thing that I recommend turning on is this option here, read frequency every so often. That way, if you accidentally tune your radio off frequency, let me give you an example. So let's say I take my radio and I tune it off frequency. Within 5 seconds, VarAC will show that it's now off frequency, and it'll warn you that it is off frequency. If you have that option disabled, then VarAC can only control the radio's VFO, but it won't be able to read what frequency you're actually on if you do change it externally. So basically, this option here just synchronizes the frequency readout here and what your radio is actually on.
I noticed one setting on the QSO configuration. By default, it sends the call ID in 10-minute intervals. I notice yours is set at 5. Is there any reason that you might change?
No, but it comes with the fact that earlier versions of VarAC had it set to 10. And if you upgraded from an older version of VarAC, any settings that were present in the old version are automatically carried over to the new version.
And by the way, when that goes out, it kind of halts anything that you're doing. So, if you're in the middle of typing a message, your message won't go out until that ID happens.
Yes.
So it makes sense.
Yeah.
Does it make sense then just to set it to the FCC standard for ID of 10 minutes? Or?
It might. Yeah. I like that.
Yes. Okay. So speaking of FCC and IDing, there is one option that's not in VarAC, but rather in the Vara modem. And because the Vara modem was made by a European person, it's an option. But if you go into the Vara modem and go into setting and go into Vara setup, notice one of this says CWID. And if you mouse over it, yes. So if you are using Vara, basically, if you check this box, at the end of every QSO, the Vara modem will send out your call sign in CW. And as it says, if you're in the US, you must enable this option to stay legal.
Ooh, I haven't done that. See, I learned something already.
So question, is that really true? Because like at the end of a C4 FM, we ID ourselves, but I've heard discussion like on C4 FM where the radio itself IDs, we are being ID'd by our transmission and Vara.
It is, that's the thing that I'm not so certain about. But if you set your modem to monitor mode and listen to someone's QSO, you can see at the beginning of every packet they send, you can see their call sign in brackets.
Right.
So I'm not, but this option has been around like for a while, and I always just enabled it based on that warning it said.
Now we're throwing around some things here, assuming that we all know what they are. We really haven't. If you would, before you actually do a exchange here, could we talk about what the difference is? Because it isn't just a messaging. We can send equivalent to an email. We can park a message. So could you go through what options of communications we have?
Yeah. So other than just keyboard to keyboard, you can send VMails, which are basically they're small messages that you can send either directly to someone or relay it through multiple stations. So in a way, let's see if I click on here, I can write a VMail to someone, and if I can establish direct radio contact to them, they'll receive it in the inbox and it shows. If they cannot, and I know the path to them, similar to APRS, I can have other stations running VarAC relay that message to another station until it gets to the destination.
Now, how would we create an email to attach?
So so on here we hit send vmail and you enter 2. So let's say I want to send a message to Dennis. So I would type in the 2 WU6X subject. And I would say this is an example of sending a vmail in VarAC. And when I hit send, assuming the frequency is clear.
Now, would you want to do this on something other than the calling frequency?
I believe these are sent directly on the calling frequency. The assumption is that everyone is listening on the calling frequency, and short messages like vmails and pings get sent on the calling frequency.
Okay.
So if I hit send, we're not connected to anyone. So it says you are not connected to anyone at the moment. Your vmail will be waiting to be sent in your outbox folder. So basically, when I connect to Dennis, or if Dennis connects to me, it will automatically send that message.
It's pretty incredible software. You've got so much stuff built into this now. It's just amazing.
And so when I hit OK, watch what happens. So it says outbox. So anytime I make contact with Dennis now, this message will be sent to him. And it doesn't matter whether I connect to him or if he connects to me.
Or if one of us have the relay selected, would it send through any station that's allowing relay?
Yes. So when I click on the relay button, notice it says the following stations have notified you they have emails waiting for you to collect. So let's say I just connected to Brian. I will send Brian a copy of that message, and he will see that message in his list of emails where it says parking. And what that does is, say I park my message on Brian's instance of VarAC, and then Dennis connects to Brian. Now Brian's system will deliver that message to him, and it will show the message as having come from me, relayed through him.
So if you are relaying a message, should you only do that through stations you're familiar with, or is it something that you can do publicly?
I would say here, common sense applies because anyone can read the messages that are relayed through them. So you probably don't want to send a message just directly through someone else, and anyone can delete a message that's waiting to be relayed. It's no guarantee that they'll actually forward that message. They may just delete that message.
Okay,
right.
so we have the option to send a vmail. We have the option to do station to station live messaging, live keyboard or canned messages. What else do we have?
We can also send files. We can send any computer file, though you probably don't want to send anything larger than, say, 2 or 3 kilobytes, because then it ends up taking a long time.
I agree.
And in fact, in here, there's an option that says incoming file size limit. And what this does is,
Yeah, so it's probably not practical to send pictures, for example.
low res pictures maybe, but generally, like if you wanted to send a text file, or let's say like you want to send someone your WSJTX configuration, anything that can be compressed nicely would be good to send. A black and white image would also be a good
any
candidate.
quite often we use WinLink and on community events. Would there be any advantage to sending over a small text file this way over sending WinLink?
I would say not really, because WinLink has forms. which as long as both sides have the same forms, it just sends what goes into each section of the form rather than the entire file. So it's a more efficient way of sending standardized messages.
And then the final thing that has just been brought out is broadcast.
Yeah, so broadcasts are exactly as it says on the tin. It is a message sent out just over the air using the AX25 protocol. So just like APRS, there is no guarantee anyone will receive it, and there is no acknowledgement of reception.
It's like JS8 call when you send a message to all, basically.
Yeah.
Would that be useful for a community event where you have a message going out to all aid stations, or?
Only if you don't need guaranteed delivery.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct.
But yeah, you could use it for announcements, for group messaging. And it said that if you want to, you can actually even run VarAC nets as long as you go off an official frequency. So if you go on the calling frequency, they say don't actually run nets on that. But I mean, theoretically and legally, you can tune this to any frequency in the data mode section that isn't really a standard frequency for some other mode and hold a net there.
So it looks, you want to try a QSO, we can show them what that looks like, and maybe actually experiment with some of the things that work when you're connected. It looks like we're clear up 750, so why don't you use up slot up and call me, or send CQ and I'll answer you. But
All right.
So
Well,
could we see a CQ on calling frequency and then a request to move up? Because that really kind of confused me, that you can automate a movement to any slot.
We'll show you that.
Yeah.
So go ahead and call me, and then get 11. He's going to select 7. Notice that green, it's 750 up right there, and you can actually click that slot sniffer, and it'll tell you if the frequency is
in use. Yeah. So when I hold this down, it tunes my radio to that slot, so I can listen for any activity, and I let go, and it switches it back to the calling frequency.
Yep.
So I'm going to hit call CQ. I'm on 50 watts. Hopefully Dennis hears me.
Hopefully I can get you before somebody else does. Okay, I see your CQ. It's not coming up in the CQ window yet. And it should, right? Yeah, that's why I'm not getting. Now notice his radio switch automatically up here on the upper left-hand corner. Now he's listening on 7105, 750 up. And Jim, I don't see your CQ in the box, in the last heard CQ.
That's strange.
Yeah,
Let's try this. Let's try this. We go ahead and
mine
Yeah,
doesn't.
and like Bill just posted up, I'm seeing it also.
Yeah, I don't know why mine's not decoding that.
we go ahead and turn up my transmit power. Let me try that. Let's try that again.
I saw it, Jim, the CQ in the window.
Okay.
Here in Rockland.
I wonder if it shouldn't be because it's on the other monitor.
Oh. Let me try this again. So, okay, so now I'm going to come out with 70 watts.
I mean, I can see you in the waterfall. You're strong on the waterfall.
Is your modem set to monitor mode or like bidirectional?
It's monitor on right now.
Yeah, if you turn on the monitor, it will not send data over to VarAC.
So I should turn the monitor off.
Yes, because notice if you go into monitor mode, notice how it says monitor mode receive only.
I don't see that.
Like on the bottom of your modem screen. If you want to go ahead and turn on monitor, and you'll see on the bottom the status now says monitor mode receive only.
Mine says listen right now. Oh yeah, it does say receive only. You're right.
Okay, so this is very important. If we're monitoring conversations through Vara HF, make sure you turn that off. Otherwise, you're not listening to anything then, huh? I think I just found out why I sometimes don't hear traffic. Thank you,
Yeah.
guys.
It's like putting a Wi-Fi card into promiscuous mode. Yes, it'll start decoding any Wi-Fi it can see, but it'll also disable some functions that are required in the standard peer-to-peer mode.
And I didn't realize why. That's why I'm not seeing CQ or anything either when you're CQing.
So
Yeah.
now with monitor mode turned off, so on the left side you should just see it like the speed graph.
Yes, that's correct. And it says disconnected.
So now I'm going to go ahead and say call CQ again.
I'll try that again. And what I'm going to do if I see a CQ come up, I'm just going to double click it, and it'll make my radio change the transmit frequency to wherever he's set his receive frequency.
Yep. I'm going to go ahead and call the CQ.
All right. Oh, there you are. That's what it was. Okay, so now I just answered him by double clicking, and my radio automatically switched to 105.750.
Can we see your screen, Dennis?
Yeah, can we do it?
But so now Dennis just connected.
Yeah, you'd have to unshare yours.
All right, let me go ahead and get off here. And so hold on, notice on my screen it's actually sending Dennis the Vmail.
Okay, here's my.
Oh, and it's showing he has a new email.
Oh, there it goes. It's on the top of his screen. Notice it's flashing red. One new Vmail.
Right here where it says new email.
Yes, that's on mine. So your modem actually acknowledged delivery of mine, and on mine I'm seeing a delivery confirmation showing that my Vmail was delivered successfully.
If I click on that, there's the new message. And there's one in there from you, Brian. And if I want to read that, I just double click it.
We don't see that one. We're just seeing the.
Oh, do you see this pop up?
No,
Okay, it's not showing.
you'd have to show your entire desktop for us to see that.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, take my word.
My transmit power is turned up way too high.
Okay.
Look at the signal report. Notice his signal report.
Yeah, +9, +13.
By the way, in the right-hand screen, when it's showing that quad, is that the QAM modulation that is showing?
Quam,
Yes, it's QAM. Yep.
Okay.
Then notice down at the bottom on that logging screen, it's populated with everything in there. Even put the RST, his call sign, name, location, all of that populated. And if I send mine, which I'm going to do right now, my info, and here you'll see it right here, and that control data is something that the program will do every once in a while.
So by the way, I just turned my power down to 10 watts, and it looks like we're still connected.
Yeah. Mine will go out, and you should see right up here in this message bar, you should see my message. There should be a bar going. Oh, it already went out.
Yep. And so notice on the modem the bits per second. So conditions are real good. We're connected at level 6 speed.
Wow, it's like a 300 baud modem.
Almost, just about 300. Yep.
So now what I've got a rig. This is one that I put in there. This is basically what my station setup is. And I didn't use the brackets on this. Because it's not really populating anything. I just want it to go out as a text message. So you can see my setup here, and it sent out what my message is.
Now, anybody who wants to monitor this, if you go on your Vara HF screen and click on monitor, turn it on, then you will have a screen that will show this conversation, but you have to make sure you're on the correct slot. So on your Vara AC over on the left-hand side, make sure that below frequency, it's showing that you are on slot 11. And then you will see in Vara HF, between the two red markers, you will then see that message that's being decoded.
Okay, so if Jim had called CQ and had not selected a slot frequency up or down, and we would be on the calling frequency, there's two little buttons right here. And I'm going to go ahead and go, I'd say, Jim, I want to go up another 750. And basically, he's down to 5 watts now. If I click this up button, and you can see it says there, right click it and hold it. It's basically, I'm going to left click it, and it will send a message for him to QSY up. See right there?
How do you know if it's busy or not?
How do I know if it's what?
Busy.
All right, watch. Hold on. Switch over to my screen. Watch this.
Okay, hang on. Let me get off of here.
Notice what came up on my screen. A QSY up request has been initialized. This message will close in 30 seconds. So I got to hit yes within 30 seconds. And now look, my radio just switched up.
Yep, we're both up. We're both up frequency, another 750.
Yes.
Now, Jim, if you wanted to QSY this QSO down, how would you know? Okay, yeah, you would hit down, but how do you know if that's in use or not?
If I right click, if you left click, it will send a QSY down. If I use my right mouse button, watch. My radio temporarily QSYs down. And if I let go, it moves back to our active frequency.
Okay.
Yep, good question.
So right click, you can check if it's in use before you ask somebody to move to that frequency.
And watch this. There's the up, down. There's also a number. So when I click this, I can actually either select any other slot the QSY to, or I can quite literally type in any frequency and send a request to QSY to that. Let's say I want to QSY to a frequency that's not any of the 750 hertz up or down, or even onto a completely different band. Say band conditions aren't nice, and I want to say switch over to 20 meters. I can do that. I can just send a QSY request.
Wow, cool. And then when he accepts it, his radio will automatically tune over.
Yes. So the moment I send my request, my radio will tune over to my new frequency, and the other end has 30 seconds to QSY as well before the link disconnects.
Very cool.
Now watch this.
Can you guys see the pop-up?
Yes.
Okay. Because you're sharing your desktop. Okay.
Let's say I want to send you a list of interesting stations that I've listened to. So I'll say send file, and this is please avoid sending file on main gathering QRGs. That's calling frequencies. Always QSY up or down before doing so. So I'll go ahead and hit yes and watch.
Does that mean that it wants you to QSY outside of the slots?
Outside of the calling frequencies.
Okay, but not the slots. Okay.
And on my screen, I just got that link that he sent me. Receiving file transfer data.
Now, if you go outside of the slots and you've paid for your license, we could be sending these files at 2300.
Yes. But now, notice VarAC just zipped the file up. It compressed my file before sending it. So now, if he opens this up, he'll get my file right here.
Yep, came through. Let's see. Let me have a share for a minute. I want to show a couple more things. We can go back and forth here real quick. Just a couple other real quick things. I'm going to go over here to resources. This program has a really excellent quick start guide. Let me see if it comes up. Does that come up? All right. So this is the quick reference guide. It is very, very well done. You could walk through this. It will tell you exactly what we've both been talking about. It has really nice pictures of screenshots of how to configure your radio. Are you all seeing that? Is that coming through? Where should I find people to chat? It gives you the frequencies. It talks about calling CQ, talks about beaconing, and how to connect with someone, what we were just doing. You can either type the call in and click connect, or you can double click a CQ or a beacon. Gestures I haven't used too much. You can send little cutesy icons and things. The CAN messages, I talked a little bit about that. Here's a discussion about that. And then it talks about how to end the QSO. Basically, you just click disconnect and it'll send a disconnect message. It actually talks about broadcasts, what that's all about. Talks about QSYing up or down. So like I was saying, they did a really good job on that. And it's something worth looking through if you have any other questions. Hey, Jim, you want to try anything else?
This point, I think we've done everything that we can do. So I sent him a message. So notice how I composed a message before connecting to him. And the moment he connected to me, it automatically sent that message. So that also works for beacons. And that's what the beaconing function is about. So say I wrote an email to Dennis and later he sees me beaconing. If he right clicks on my beacon and selects ping, as part of that process, once he connects to me, my computer will send him that mail.
Okay.
And then we also did file sharing. So like I said, so what just happened is we timed out due to idle.
We just got disconnected.
So if there's no input to the program within, I believe by default, 5 minutes, it will automatically disconnect.
Okay.
As to not tie up that frequency.
And you notice here's the open file location. This is the this is where he sent the file, and this is the acknowledge that I received it. And this is actually the message that when it was coming through was actually coming through in this little bar right here. It was actually filling this little bar as it was going across. Let's see, what else could we show them? I haven't tried relay. I don't know what that is.
To answer Bill, yes.
So we have a question from Bill about Vara software in free. So that gives you a little nag screen every time, and it prevents you from going into the 2300 rate. So if you're using a slot, and really the only time you're ever going to use that wider throughput is probably if you move off to do file sharing. But you know, if you find that you're using VarAC or using Vara for WinLink or anything like that, the nag screen goes away when you pay for the license. Now, something we had talked about before is Jim KN600N had suggested that there is a bulk purchase. So if anybody is interested in getting a licensed Vara but doesn't want to pay the full rate, they do offer a discounted rate. How many do we have to order, Jim?
Let me just do a quick check over here.
So maybe what we might want to do is just find out if anybody's interested in a license. I already bought my license, but you know, if we want to get and meet their number, minimum order number, we might just communicate this on Groups.io and see if we want to buy a group of licenses if you guys are interested in this mode.
I believe you have to directly email the author of the program and ask him, let him know how many people are buying, and he'll work out a deal on a case-by-case basis.
Okay, so very good. Well, let's communicate on Groups.io and see if anybody wants to participate in a group buy. Of course, the purpose of tonight is not to sell licenses. Let's see. Anybody have questions for our two experts before we let them go?
Yes, Anders here.
Go ahead, Anders.
All right. Yeah. So So what's the typical use? I mean, we've shown now 4 or 5 different things that you can do. What's the most common?
Rag chew, honestly.
Drag to. Okay. Hmm. And that is done through the keyboard to keyboard, or
Yes.
okay. Did you actually demo keyboard to keyboard? I didn't see that, but
Yeah, we did.
you did. Sorry, I missed
Yes.
that. I was too focused on
So-
everything else here. So
When I so I set the like automatic connection message with my name, my call sign, location, and then also the other message with my station information. And after that, I typed a message saying that I had turned my transmit power down to 5 watts and we're still connected.
yes. Okay. But that was okay. So I guess okay. So my confusion there is that to me, keyboard to keyboard means that when I push a key, I see it on the other side immediately. You sent a message, right?
Yeah, it's everything
you
is
sent-
buffered.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was a packet kind of deal, not
Correct.
not letter by letter. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So then I understand. Okay.
So
So
like PSK and RTTY are, letter by letter, character by character, and
yeah,
you-
that's what I was looking for. So that's what.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. All
you
right.
don't have to
See,
press
the great
record.
thing about this, because it's error correcting, this is what makes it be able to work below the noise threshold, because you have a checksum.
Right.
And so I'm not sure if you paid attention to Dennis's screen share when he was receiving the file. The file, it shows the file name, the size in bytes of that file, followed by a checksum. And if his computer receives the file and the checksum is different, it will send an automatic packet to me to resend that file.
And it will shift your send speed depending on the conditions.
Yeah, so I'm sharing now, and basically, are you seeing my screen, you guys?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, so basically, when he sent the file, I got this message, and then while this was being transmitted, this bar right here was just going across being filled. As soon as it got to the end, bang, it did file successfully received, said it came and it took 10 seconds, and it showed how many bytes in the message. And then it actually saved it to my computer on my D drive, and I could go actually open it and look at it.
And I saw that come through because I was in monitor mode at the time. So I saw that come through on the monitor where it looked like it was base 64 encoded and zipped. Like you said, it compresses the file first and then transmits it. So is there a way for somebody to monitor those file transfers, or would I have to kind of paste that out and decrypt it myself?
I don't know.
That I'm not sure, because it's whatever the file is, gzipped. So theoretically, if you had a version of the Vara modem that just received that file and wrote it straight to disk, then you could use something like 7-zip or WinRAR or what have you to unzip that file and get the original contents.
Yep.
So there's
Right.
nothing secure about it.
No,
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
and there shouldn't be, because it's ham, right? So it can't be
Yeah,
encrypted. So
yeah.
that's why I'm asking, is because that means that you should be able to take that whatever you see in the monitor. I don't know if that allowed you to actually. I didn't try if that was copy paste enabled.
I mean,
but,
in other words, you don't send your SSH private key. You can send your public key, but not your private key.
no, all right, good deal.
Hey, Jim, where was that CWID setting?
It's in the Vara modem. So let me go ahead and share my screen
it's
here
in
and
the
show
bottom.
you.
Okay.
Yeah, if I go into the modem over here and click on settings, click on Vara setup. This is also where you type in your registration key and set your TCP ports. But on the bottom here, there's a CWID box that if you check it, after your modem disconnects, it will ID for you.
Let's follow up on this. And the reason I'm suggesting that is because I read some things where, this should be, if you're sending like WinLink, you need to end your transmission with an ID, but I was reading where it wasn't required because it's embedded in our transmission. So let's maybe have a follow-up on Groups IO about that.
Yep.
Other questions?
I just had a question about the timeout, but Dennis, you said you don't know if there's a way to change the timeout. Jim, do you have any idea if there's a way to do that?
Yes. So hold on.
I
If you
think I
go
saw
into
that under settings, didn't I?
go into VarAC, go into rig control and Vara configurations.
Ah,
Auto disconnect. And if I click on this checkbox, it says set the time in minutes in which you want idle connection to be terminated.
oh, set it to 0 if you wish to disable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Wow, I'm actually seeing beacons and CQs now. Thanks, Jim.
Uh-huh. Yep, you're welcome.
Yeah. No, I thought that's a pretty good overview, I think, of what's going on here. And I would just encourage you to, load it in your computer, make it start controlling your radio, and then just get in here and play. And if I'm online or if Jim's online, we'd be happy to connect to you and chat for a while. But
Real quick, one last thing.
Yeah.
Let's do the broadcast thing. Brian, anyone who has VarAC installed and running, let's play with the broadcast messages just to show how that works.
Okay, so would you start that in the main slot, or where would you start that?
So you could go to any slot. So let's go to, by convention, most broadcasts take place on the main slot under the assumption that everyone is monitoring.
yes.
However, you can definitely QSY up to any other slot and send broadcast messages there. You don't even have to be on one of the official slots. So for example,
So for our test right now, where would you like to go? What slot?
let's go on to slot 15. It's far up enough that most people calling CQ will call on one of the lower number slots. So if you take this slider here and click on it and just drag it all the way up to the right, you'll be on slot 15.
Yep, I'm gonna.
Now from here, once everyone is on 7108.750,
Correct.
on your VarAC window, there is a broadcast button. So if I click on this, I'll get a window that says broadcast message. Oh, I see here.
Wow.
Hello.
Tim
There.
beat us to it.
Wow, jump in.
Watch
So
this.
to join that, would I click on his message?
You don't click on his message because it's to all.
Yeah.
There is no joining. Now you're actually in a group chat. It's not one-to-one. So watch this. If I go.
I see it. Nice.
Okay, I just see the waterfall coming in.
Yep, that's it.
Yep, there it is.
Yep.
Very good.
Okay, this is really neat. Okay. So right now, for anybody watching the video, we've just gone through a one-to-all broadcast message.
I feel like that could be really useful for some of the stuff that the club does.
Yeah, you can run nets. You can run roundtable nets like this.
Very cool. All right. Any other question before I stop recording? All right, here we go.
Did you get my broadcast?
Yes.
Okay, and I'm still recording, so we got that on the recording. So
Oh, nice.